All right, welcome everyone to the Judiciary Committee hearing this Monday morning at 10:30. We have two sets of resos on the agenda for today. The first one is SCR 155 and SR 132, requesting the Hawaii Professional Chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists to establish a process to evaluate and identify sources of news that adhere to the ethical and objective journalistic standards to help the public distinguish those that may proliferate misinformation. First up on SCR 155, SR 132 is Nancy Kukalak. Come on up. 2 minutes as usual. Yeah.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young on behalf of CARES. In favor of the resolution. So social media trends and artificial intelligence seem to proliferate unfiltered information and news. Journalists, broadcasters, television news has a primary goal to disseminate information. And so I think there should be a little bit more digging with the research of this resolution, because if the research is further developed, you'll discover that journalism can be classified differently than investigative reporting, right? Journalism can include KHON2, KITV4. Investigative is more like civil beat, right? And so there are different ways to classify within the journalism and integrated media sector these sources of proliferation of information. So social media and artificial intelligence is not classified within the journalism industry. And I think that's what the resolution is saying, that how do we filter through all these sources of information? Like that's kind of like something you just have to train people to develop thinking skills to filter through the content. And so, I get what the resolution is trying to say. And I think the resolution should be about getting the standards of the law of the First Amendment right and the code of conduct for journalism to agree, right? How does the law and the journalism industry agree upon ethical standards of conduct? From the lens of law, it seems that the law sets a standard of defamation, that legal term for gossip, right? It seems to favor free speech within the First Amendment rights, that we can say whatever we want. And yet the Society of Professional Journalists has a responsibility to manage publishing accurate information in favor of ethical standards. So libel in the method of defamation expressed by print, writing, pictures, signs, it causes injury to someone's reputation.
Thank you very much.
And
okay, let's see.
Yeah.
No one else has signed up to testify in person or on Zoom on these two measures. Does anyone else here wish to testify on either of these measures? Okay, seeing that, I'll just read the stats then. So for the first one, SCR 155, 1 in support, 8 opposed, 3 comments. For SR 132, 2 in support, 37 opposed, and no comments. Members, any questions? If not, we'll go ahead and move on to the second pair of resolutions. This would be SCR 213 and SR 189, requesting the Office of the Administrative Director of the Courts to collect, compile, and share data on the assessment of fees, court costs, fines, and restitution in cases against minors. First up on SCR 213 is Darcia Forrester for the Office of Public Defender. On Zoom, maybe?
Yes.
Good morning.
I'm on Zoom this morning. Aloha, Chair Rhodes and members of the committee. Deputy Public Defender Darcia Forrester. I'm testifying in my capacity as the supervisor of the Juvenile Division in our office on the island of Oahu. I did submit written testimony on behalf of the office. We are in strong support of this resolution. I would also just like to supplement our written testimony. I can speak to what's going on Oahu and what kind of fines are being ordered or collected for the majority of the cases on Oahu, but I have absolutely no idea what's going on in the different other circuits around the state. So we strongly support this because I think we need to find out what's going on in each of the different circuits, what's happening on Maui, what's happening on Kauai, what's happening on the Big Island. And gathering this data would be essential for us to determining how to proceed on the requests we've had for the past several years that focus on juvenile fines, fees, and restitution. So we do think this data is essential to collect and will be very helpful to everyone involved in the juvenile justice system. So thank you very much. I have nothing else to add. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next up is Pamela Ferguson-Bray for Crime Victims Compensation Commission in support, sort of. Carrie Ann Shirota, Policy Director, American Civil Liberties Union of Hawaii, on Zoom maybe?
They're unavailable on Zoom, Chair.
They're in support. Berkeley Law Policy Advocacy Clinic. Good afternoon, I guess.
Aloha, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, mahalo. Aloha mai kako, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. I'm Stephanie Spear, a third-year law student in the Policy Advocacy Clinic at UC Berkeley School of Law. On behalf of the National Debt-Free Justice Campaign, we respectfully ask for your aye vote on Senate Resolution SCR 213 to collect data on fines and fees in cases against minors under age 18. Despite reductions in youth incarceration in Hawaii, racial disparities in the juvenile system persist. Native Hawaiian and Micronesian youth are more likely to be imposed punitive measures at every stage of the juvenile legal system, including the assessment of monetary sanctions. Over the past 3 years, our clinic has been conducting legal and legislative research and engaging with a variety of stakeholders to learn more about how juvenile monetary sanctions operate and affect youth in Hawaii. Unfortunately, data on this subject is scarce. We learned that no court or state entity is actively and comprehensively tracking data on juvenile monetary sanctions. Last year, SR 202 was passed on this topic. However, we were informed by the Administrative Office of the Courts that without a concurrent resolution, the AOC is not able to fulfill the data request due to limited capacity. As Hawaii continues to make bold reforms to reduce recidivism and improve outcomes for youth, collecting data is critical to building holistic rehabilitative solutions. Evidence-based insights will not only allow family courts to identify juvenile case trends, but also to track the progress of existing programs that reduce youth recidivism. We respectfully ask that you vote in favor of SCR 213. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next is Michael Galoyo Jr. for Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii, also on Zoom perhaps.
They're unavailable on Zoom, Chair.
He supports it, they support it. Loren Walker for Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice, also in support. That's all the testimony I have on this pair of resos, SCR 213 and SR 189. Yes, would you like? Yes, go ahead.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of Kapalama Neighborhood Security Watch. We train with the community policing team, which is a grassroots of the Honolulu Police Department, to create safety response procedures in the district. So the mass incarceration and recidivism is a perpetuous cycle, right? Youths going through correction systems are experiencing disadvantages, or youth that are experiencing incarceration, right, should get access to healthcare resources to create equity, to treat their behavioral health problems with educational programs and classes instead of the restitution of pain, fees, and fines. Fees and fines for youth creates a disadvantage to compete in life. And this is a lesson about what I think is judiciary policies creating barriers to whether or not a child has the ability to compete in high school and college because of a criminal record. The system of youths being arrested, prosecuted, and charged with fees and fines causes disproportionate effects. By creating a restitution structure of fees and fines, it exacerbates economic and racial disparities. And it increases recidivism rates for juveniles and creates hardships for families, which results in the disadvantaged, marginalized groups that suffer and they don't get a fair opportunity to compete in life. So in an article called Racial Disparities in Youth Pretrial Detention, a retrospective cohort study grounded in critical race theory, it says in advanced industrial societies, the probability of delinquent status is associated with the lowest social strata, and the probability of lower class status associated with the most serious forms of delinquency. Otherwise, the class crime relationship is inconsequential. This is essentially saying that those from lower social classes are more likely to be involved in crime. This study examines criminal delinquency in social class, and in Korea, official statistics indicate that criminal behavior is predominantly confined to the lower class. This is a disparity and a disproportionate effect, which should be concerning for policymakers, especially when it comes to restitution for minors, because it affects the minors of disproportionate demographics to compete in the race of life.
Okay,
Thank you
very much. Anyone else on Zoom or in person wish to testify on SCR 213 or SR 189? Seeing none, members, questions? Okay, if not, I'm ready to make some recommendations if you guys are set to go. Okay. On the first pair, which we can vote on together, SCR 155, SR 132, requesting the Hawaii Professional Chapter Society of Professional Journalists to establish a process to evaluate and identify sources of news that adhere to ethical and objective journalistic standards. The recommendation here is to pass with some amendments. We'll request that the Honolulu chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists submit its recommendations to the legislature 40 days prior to the start of the next session. And also on page 2, line 10, in the therefore be it resolved clause, let's change it to, quote, is requested to recommend a process that individuals can utilize if they choose to evaluate and identify news sources that adhere to ethical and objective standards. And we'll add in the committee report that we're looking for a process or a way to look at potential information so that individuals can use that to separate fact from fiction. We're not looking for a list of approved and disapproved news sources, so more of a methodology as opposed to an approved or disapproved list. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on SCR 155 and SR 132 is to pass with amendments. Chair Rhodes?
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Elefante?
Aye.
And Senator Sandlin Ventura is excused. Senator Awaz excused. Measure passes.
Okay, Vice Circuit. Sit down. So that wasn't in here yet. Okay. Okay. Okay, moving on to the second pair, the SCR 213 and SR 189, requesting the Office of the Administrative Director of the Courts to collect, compile, and share data on the assessment of fees, court costs, fines, and restitution in cases against minors. Recommendation here is also to pass with amendments. Okay, in the whereas statements, let's incorporate specific facts and cite research to support the statements, change some of the declarations to can be and may be statements, change mistakes made in a person's youth to actions taken in a person's youth, add a whereas statement to better explain the need for Hawaii data. In the resolve statements, let's make the report due 40 days, not 20 days prior to the 2025 legislative session. We'll add language to request that the judiciary publicly post the report on its website, and add a resolve statement to request the report be provided to the Judicial Council, and that the council use it during the next penal code review. Also, we'd like to put in as part of the request that the data be broken out by circuit to reflect testimony that would be useful for determining the effect of policies. I think that's it. Any other questions or concerns? If not, Senator Gabbard.
Chair's recommendation is to pass SCR 213 and SR 189 with amendments. Of the members present, are there any no votes or reservations? Hearing none, the measure passes.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks everyone for being here. We're adjourned.